Hello everyone. Where we left off this series, we just finished the Atlanta race where Mav, the rookie, went back-to-back. Only the second driver ever to go back-to-back in the league's history. Going into Dover, we are reaching the last race before the Championship 4. Playoffs are tight. 2 drivers are complete locks, 1 driver is a virtual lock, and 2 drivers are vying for one final spot for Championship 4. So let's have a final look at the cut line before the final 4 is decided. After the highly controversial finish at Atlanta, when Mellon wrecked himself from the lead in the last lap, he has left the league. He will not be able to contend for a Championship 4 spot. Kimi will need to win, but it's unlikely he will show up as the only playoff race he has come to was Charlotte. SMG is in an interesting position, only really in this position from showing up. His results have not been that good in the playoffs, and you could say a similar thing for Shadow. Rusty has showed up to 2 out of the 3 playoff races thus far, and has a 3rd place finish at Darlington and a 5th place at Charlotte. Really good results so far. All he needs to do is just have an okay day and hope the Shadow doesn't win to make it. It's a simple story for SMG, Kimi, and anyone else below the cut line. They need to win, really, if they want a shot to catch Rusty. So that much to talk about before the race, as the news wasn't that high. We can get straight in to a race of domination, a shock finish, and the Championship 4 being solidified. Let's get in to the Dover race weekend. There is no remaining data of the qualifying results, so we can just get into our one main news storyline of the race, being that Shot, one of the big 3, and the only driver locked in Championship 4 with a win, will not be at the race. This doesn't change much, however, it does mean a driver who was starting races early in the season can finally make his return. Jamal will be driving the 9 this race. For the first time since the regular season, he'll be back for a one-off, trying to prove that he deserves a full-time ride next season, which you may find out next video, or if it's rewarded or not, as next video is the silly season video, so we can get straight in to the race. To continue the ongoing narrative of rookies in this documentary, I want to look at which rookies showed up today, and for the first time, only 2 have. Mav, the rookie who's currently on riding a 2-race win streak, is here, and Chip, the other one of them, has performed the best, just riding his career best finish of 3rd at Atlanta, is here too. But some playoff drivers haven't showed up. Mellon, as expected, after being kicked from the league and all rage quitting is still unclear, did not show up. Kimi, as expected, also did not show up. But SMG, someone who was most expected to show up to most races, even if he didn't perform the best, was not there. This would mean the final spot would be a battle between Rusty and Shadow. And going into the race, it would seem Rusty would be slightly behind Shadow for most of the day. Shadow would lead a little bit, but not much. Most of the race would be led by Splendid. So let's focus on Stage 1. Throughout Stage 1, it was very clear who was the top dog. As I just said, Splendid. Out front almost the entire race, and especially Stage 1, would not lose the lead once throughout the entire stage. He'd claw his way through the grid after his usual near the back of the grid qualifying effort, but throughout the race he was clear he was above the rest. Leading for a while, Stage 1 would have a few bits of contact and a few cautions, and most notably the start of a feud, which will end up shaping the next few races of the league. Up until the end of the second race in Season 2, 2 feuds have started from this race, and both of them involving one of our rookies. So let's get started with one of them, which starts in Stage 1. Rusty and Mav. Mav was battling Rusty quite hard for positions. Mav was at the back of the pack, which, honestly, for this season was unusual, though a lot of people will get more used to it soon. Going through the race, Mav was obviously off the pace at the beginning, and Rusty was just trying to claw his way through, not pushing his car, but still not letting people past. Race the other hard, they door slam a few times, and it definitely seemed like neither of them were giving an inch to each other, and this would end up starting a lot of bad beef and a lot of situations between each other, which we will especially see in one of the upcoming episodes, so keep an eye out for that. But the other feud does not start until the end of the race, so we can get back to that later point. Splendid would win Stage 1, leaving the points unchanged between Shadow and Rusty, and this basically confirmed that Shadow needed to win. Shadow would need to sweep the stages and basically get second one. Rusty would get last, who would survive. Jamal, in his return, has not been performing up to the level he should be. It's unfortunate for him, but after being out of practice for so long, it was somewhat expected, and being given this ride last minute. But the rookies in this race, Chip was mid-pack, Mav was towards the back. Tyler, mid-pack, he's not a rookie, but we're going to go over everyone here. Tyler was about mid-pack, so was Shadow was probably the second or third best, but no, really, there wasn't many people there, only about 7. Which meant Splendid was locked in, not only with the stage run, but with the amount of people. So, the 2 people battling, Rusty and Shadow. Stage 2 would definitely see an improvement for Shadow. Running up front a little bit more. Tyler let Shadow through at one point. It seemed like no one could really tell why, but it seemed like Tyler leapt over and let Shadow through. But Mav and Rusty had both spin each other at one point in stage 2, making this feud even more obvious. But it really didn't go without much incident. Like race restart in stage 2, Splendid held on. Not much to say about this race in general, to be honest. Stage 3 would be the first stage in the playoffs to go green the entire way. And it would be clear that at this point, Splendid was still the fastest, but not by too much. Now, he had pressure from behind. And surprisingly, the person who it was Mav. Most of the other drivers were starting to fall off at this point, but Mav was marching her way up the field, having a shot to maybe sneak in another top 3 to her season. But it's a very clear that it would be Mav and Splendid towards the end, more so Splendid. It wasn't even known Mav or anyone would catch him. And as stage 3 went green the whole way, Splendid's lead would start to wane. However, towards the end it would expand until the last lap and a half, which we do have on recording. The first part of this documentary is recording. The commentary, edited by me. Roll the clip. Here we go. Coming to the far lap. Mav sends it to back of Splendid, and they're crashing behind them. The 99, 17, the 2 may have a car as well. Final lap. Splendid leading, Mav behind. The charge. Tyler, the only other car not involved in that wreck. Can they make a comeback? Mav in the wall to the back of Splendid. Then it's going to be a drag race down the backstretch. Mav approaching fast, coming down the inside now. Are they both going to send it? They are. Mav sends it, Splendid in the wall. Mav bouncing off, sliding beneath him. Mav to the lead, down the front stretch, and Mav's going to steal it. 3 in a row for her. She's done it. Splendid had seen set for a second career win, and instead it would be Mav getting her third career win in shocking fashion. This would spark debate, and the second feud we mentioned between rookies would be between Mav and Splendid. Splendid believed that was his rightful win, and many other moments in the season would go. When we have a moment in the final race of the season, and the beginning of the second season would fuel the flames of this rivalry. But now let's get into the results and who were the final 4. Let's see it. Mav won her 3rd race, Withering Thunder, and 3rd race in a row, breaking a record in the league. The first driver to go 3 in a row. Splendid finishing 2nd. Continues his consistent season. Tyler in 3rd. Most notable ones though, Shadow in 4th and Rusty in 6th. Shadow would gain 10 points from Rusty and would not be enough. Rusty would make the final 4. Chip would finish in 5th, an average performance for him, and Jamal was a wrecking. Well, people were annoying him after the race, and he would come in last. Jamal may not be able to get the opportunity he wanted next season, unless he takes matters into his own hands, which we'll find out if he'll do in the next video. Shadow would only miss out by 25 points, 5 positions on the track. With 2 stage wins, only 3 positions. Unfortunately for Shadow, he will miss the championship 4, and Rusty will be the last driver in. Now the final 4 is set. Let's go over them in order of which they are seeded. So we'll start with Shot. Tied for the all-time wins lead in the league this season, with 3 wins, tied with Mav now. Shot has been somewhat inconsistent. He'd win, or he'd finish slightly more towards the bottom. He's been someone who's been a contender all the way through that, and with 3 wins, including the playoff opener win, Shot is no doubt a favourite for a championship. He won Vegas last time. He won the Las Vegas race earlier in the season, and Vegas is the championship finale race. Shot is no doubt the favourite. However, as he missed Dover, he won't be able to practice, as he will go on a 3-week break waiting for his return. Next up is Tyler, a regular season champion, highly competitive, and someone who will stop at nothing to win, as we saw at Darlington. He is a slight ongoing feud with Rusty, though, and we don't know if this could bite him in the ass or it could help him. However, going into the championship race, Tyler has one goal, to win, and soon he may realise that he's not going to have much help for that from the drivers he's been working with this whole season. Splendid, a driver who won in the most controversial fashion in the league's history at Talladega, is riding 1 win into this playoffs and could have won easily at Dover. He's riding a motor momentum from Dover, and though it was okay at Vegas last time, he is also seen as a championship favourite due to Shot's absence. And Tyler's honestly kind of a slump throughout the playoff time. Splendid could easily steal the championship, and with his aggressive driving style stopping at nothing to take a position, it's easy to see that if this race goes to a late race restart, he's the favourite. He is clutch in those situations. Now, Rusty, still looking for his first IDOT win. He won in Rostock earlier in the season. Has a good shot to win this. He seems fast at Vegas. And he also is just generally a consistent driver. But we'll see when we come round. However, before we get to Vegas, there will be a silly season video. We will look at all the driver changes that happened in the 3-week break and all the driver changes that in general that will happen before Season 2. So with that, I thank you all for watching this video and hope to see you next time for a silly season of new teams and big teams losing favourites. Goodbye.